Mr. Prabhu Chawla, Ms. Lakshmi Menon, distinguished invitees, the proud awardees. A very good evening to all of you. When Mr. Prabhu Chawla sent me a message last week, after boarding a flight to Amsterdam, requesting me if I could make myself available for this award function, I readily agreed for two important reasons. Reason number one is that today, if there is a media house which still maintains certain ethical standards, it is the Indian Express. The second reason is that it is the Tamil version of the Indian Express which also made me a writer of things other than judgments. I was only writing judgments in quotes. I was writing judgments. Because now judges are required to affirm that they are writing judgments. I was only writing judgments, but Dinamani, the Tamil version of the Indian Express, or part of the group of Indian Express, made me a writer in Tamil. The second reason why I accepted this invitation was that it is only in places where women are celebrated that human values will still be retained, according to me. Swami Vivekananda said in those days that it is only in the houses of pious and educated mothers that great men are born. Of course, the day when he said this, feminism was not even something which was known so widely. India has certainly made a huge progress in terms of women empowerment. As a matter of fact, the New York Times, 2010, they published a very interesting report about the status of women in India. Let me now read out what that report dated 27th January 2010 said about women in India. These are the statistics that New York Times gave. HSBC, JP Morgan Chase, Royal Bank of Scotland, UBS, and Fidelity International are run by women in India. The second biggest bank, ICICI, is headed by a woman. This was the report of 2010. The third largest bank, Axis Bank, is headed by a woman. The head of the investment banking operations in Kotak Mahindra and JP Morgan Chase are women. The head of the equity division in ICICI is a woman. Half of the deputy governors in RBI are women. The entire Central Board of Direct Taxes at one point of time comprised of women. One in India's big bank, insurance and many management companies is headed by a woman in India. And the report concluded, thus, in contrast, no woman leads a bank in US or UK. Therefore, we have certainly made progress in the field of women's empowerment in India, but still we have miles to go before we reach our goal. I had an occasion to scroll through this pamphlet which was kept on the table. People of my generation still retain the bad habit of reading the print material. Otherwise, all communications are only wireless. In a lighter vein, I used to say that today our cooking is fireless. We had a chef here. I don't know whether she cooks fireless. Our cooking is fireless. Our communications are wireless. Our telephones are cordless. Our sweets are sugarless. Our education is valueless. Our youth are jobless. Our bosses are brainless. I am sorry if the Indian Express boss is sitting here. I don't mean any disrespect to anyone. And ultimately it says our salaries are less and less. So what has happened in a country of this nature is that we live in a world of paradoxes. This is a country which has always worshipped women on the one hand and crushed women on the other hand. At temples, we worship women. At home, we crush women. This is the paradox in which we have lived for quite a few centuries. I do not think that is how our civilization began. But somewhere in between, we have lost track. If you want to be a man of learning, we were taught that you must worship the goddess of learning, namely Saraswati. In fact, my wife's name is Saraswati. So I used to say in a lighter vein that instead of going to libraries and acquiring knowledge, I acquired Saraswati. That was a shortcut to success. And if you want to acquire a lot of wealth, you go to the goddess of wealth, namely Lakshmi, not Lakshmi Menon. I don't know where. And if you want to acquire valor, you go to Shakti. Shakti itself means empowerment. And look at the way they created women in our mythology. We had Brahma, the creator. We had Vishnu, the preserver. We have Shiva, the destroyer. And each of them gave a particular place to their women. Brahma gave a place to Saraswati in his tongue, because it is through tongue that people will come to know whether your top floor is full or empty. Vishnu gave his concert a place in the heart. I always say that if you are a man of wealth, it should be reflected in your heart. If you do not have a good heart, there is no point in being a man of wealth. And if you are a man of valor, you cannot have Shakti, and that is why Shiva gave half of his body, the better half, to Parvati Devi. So while we had this on the one hand, we also had, over time, started disrespecting, ill-treating women. And that is where the society fell out of grace. But fortunately, in recent times, there is a momentum gained. In fact, I am happy to be here in this 2025 year, 34th edition of the awards function, for one more reason. I do not know how many of you know that the first International Women's Year was celebrated in 1975, and this happens to be the 50th year. If you look at the statistics, Indian Express has awarded 405, I think 405 or 435 women achievers so far. That the number keeps increasing is a reflection of how the society is making a march. It is of course true that the third wave feminism has faced a lot of challenges. As a matter of fact, there was a lady by name Anne Marie Slaughter. I do not know how many of you have heard about her. She was a professor of politics and international affairs at Princeton University. She is an international lawyer and a political scientist. She was the former president of the American Society of International Law. She was formerly the dean of the Princeton Woodrow Wilson School of Public and International Affairs, and when Obama was elected, he appointed her as the director of policy planning in the year 2009, the first time a woman occupied such a post. After a 2-year stint, this Anne Marie Slaughter resigned. The reason that she gave for resigning was something very interesting, which I think the women in this audience should know and introspect. She said while resigning her job in the year 2011 this: juggling high-level government work with the needs of 2 teenage boys is not possible, and women cannot have it all. This is what Anne Marie Slaughter said. This resulted in a huge backlash from women activists. Sheryl Sandberg said that it is not true, and balancing life and work is something that you have to manage yourself. But as one of the panelists very rightly pointed out, that it is not necessary for anyone to lose the female character to be a feminist. I really welcome that statement for one reason. There was a person called Lisa Jackson. Lisa Jackson said, to be a strong woman, you don't have to give up on the things that define you as a woman. She said, empowering yourself does not have to mean rejecting motherhood or eliminating the nurturing or feminine aspects of who you are. But it is a matter of choice for you. Either you can choose to be a careerist, and that debate gave rise to a very interesting statement 50 years ago. That statement was that the society of women is divided into 2 parts: happy homemakers and unhappy careerists. 50 years ago, this is how the Western world looked at feminism. But today things have changed, and we truly celebrate women not merely in temples, but at home and in public places. And newspapers, media houses like this should continue to celebrate. And as chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission, I see every day as to how women struggle in society, at workplaces, at home, at public places. Therefore, it is our duty as a good citizen to learn to respect women, and even if you are not able to do something for this progress, at least you need not be an obstructionist. That is the least that men can do. With these few words, I congratulate the awardees. In fact, the awardees range from people on stage, people behind the stage. We had we had a chef, we had an author, we had an actor, a housewife turned actor, correct? Homemaker turned We don't call them any longer housewives, homemakers. Because homemaking, in fact, I take pride in saying that Madras High Court is the first High Court which recognized the monetary contribution that a homemaker makes. It is not measured in terms of money, but the High Court said it has to be measured in terms of money. I am compelled to say that the court has done something, because I heard a comment that the court did not do much about the animals. We have done a lot, but unfortunately, what attracts media attention is mistakes and not what we do rightly. Thank you very much.